I went to East Stroudsburg.
It's kind of happy and joyous. But my point being, does it take a while to get over that kind of loss for you, or you put it behind you very quickly? And where are you in that sense now?
No, I wish I did. You know, I wish I could put it to bed fast, but just like our fans and just like our alumni and everybody else, it hurts. It hurts. We put a lot into it. So no, you know, you have to. I think practicing on Sundays helps with that a little bit. But yeah, there's no doubt about it. Until you get out and play that next game, it lingers a little bit.
Where are you guys at with that middle linebacker spot? Have you seen any communication improvements from your options there?
Yeah, I think, you know, we're looking at it right now. You know, we've had 2 days of practice. Kabinda's done a nice job. Gary Wooten's done a nice job. Cooper's done a nice job. It's probably going to be a combination of that. You know, we'll see how the whole thing kind of plays out as the week goes on.
Are you still exploring the potential of reshuffling the line?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to. And I would also say it probably won't be one group the entire game. It'll probably be a little bit of a combination. Prefer not to do that, but that's just kind of where we're at. So, you know, we'll probably have one group to start with, and depending on how they play as the game goes on, they could stay, or we could do some sort of a rotation throughout the game. I think we're going to have to gain some experience and some depth, and moving some guys around is probably going to be a part of that.
What are the challenges when you have a rotation like that throughout the game? I mean, I'm sure it's a continuity thing when you get guys going and jumping around.
Yeah, and we'd like to not rotate, you know, that much. Same reason kind of on Saturday, you're trying to kind of stick with who we had. You know, and you know, there's some good and bad things about me not releasing information about injuries. You know, we have some issues during camp, which limited some of the movement and some of the things that we were able to do. Some guys weren't available last Saturday, and hopefully some guys will be available this Saturday.
What are you looking for up front, as far as, obviously execution is the number one thing, but is there a mentality you're looking for from your front five?
Yeah, I think it's a mentality more than anything. We need to be more physical. You know, they're tentative. You know, I think the first 2 drives of the game, you know, we did some nice things. But as the game went on, we became a little bit more tentative, and we weren't as aggressive. And we need to be more aggressive in everything we do. If you make a mistake, but make it full speed, make it aggressive. Solve your problems with aggression.
How much do you attack that psychologically as well? You know, when your gut tells you that after the first sack, everything changes, and it kind of felt like the whole stadium goes, well, there's number 1 on the year after we talked all offseason about sacks. How much do you attack that psychologically?
Yeah, I think that's an issue that we're still working through. I think after what happened last year, there was some residual effects from that. And you know, I wouldn't necessarily say it was the first sack, but for some guys, their first time playing, first sack, whatever it may be, you know, there was some concerns there. So yeah, I think it's a physical, it's techniques, it's fundamentals, and it's also the confidence. You know, and we got to call a game in a way to allow those guys to have some success and be confident, and they got to take responsibility as well. It's a combination of both.
Hey James, have you heard from any former players or colleagues from a positive sense to say hang in there?
Yes. I've gotten a bunch of emails, text messages, direct messages from former players, from alumni, from people on the board. I also think that's because my administrative assistant screens out the negative ones. But I've gotten a good amount of positive emails and text messages and direct messages. Probably a surprising amount, to be honest.
Anyone in particular that really meant a lot to you?
No, not anybody that I would point out. Not anybody that I would point out and be specific about, but a large number. You know, a large number. And a lot of times, a lot of people don't have my email, so they'll send it to somebody else on the staff, and it gets forwarded to me, whether it's to TK, Todd Kolka, or Jamal Griffin, or whoever it is that gets forwarded.
Coach, you mentioned a little bit earlier that you thought the offensive line was playing a little tentatively, and we've heard a couple of members of the O-line describe each other as really nice guys. Would you rather they be describing each other as mean guys on the field, or the two go hand in hand? Or?
I think that's typical with offensive line. When you can find a nasty offensive lineman, you find something special. Most of them have been big, nice kids their whole life, and you gotta get them to figure out when they step on the field that they got to flip the switch. But that's typically the case with offensive linemen. That's why when you can find one that not only has the strength and the movement and athleticism, but also the nasty streak, you got something. A lot of times those guys are on the defensive line. So that's always a little bit of a challenge.
Coach, are there any offensive linemen that impressed you with their mean streak on Saturday?
Yeah, I thought just for a group, at times guys played well. I thought at times Nelly played really well. I thought at times Mangiero, probably more times than not, played really well. But the issue is when you're an offensive line, Gaia the same deal. When you're an offensive line, you're not really viewed as individuals. You're viewed as a group. And and that's where we have to get. We have to get to the point where all 5 of those guys are playing really confident together as a cohesive group.
What makes Mangiero so versatile, and what made you guys take a look at him at right now?
I think the biggest thing is he's a 5th-year senior. He's the one senior we have. You look at our offense, we got him, you got Akil, who's a junior. I think you have Kyle, who's a senior. Who else do we have? Right, exactly, that's my point. So that's part of the reason that he's able to provide the versatility, because he's been around. He's been around, he's played a bunch of different roles. He's a very savvy, smart football player. So I think that's what makes him so versatile. Not only the type of player he is and how intelligent he is, but just his experience. He's been there, done that several times.
James, it looked like Matt changed the play at the line a couple of times on Saturday.
Yep.
Does he have more freedom to do that this year? And is that depend on the guys with him having more experience?
That was a big part of the game plan on Saturday. Typically, when you're going to run so much one back, you're going to have to do that because they can overload you in your running game and take it away. So you got to go to the pass. And then from a protection standpoint, they were doing a lot of different things, so a lot of communication had to happen. So yeah, that was the game plan going into it. I think you'll see a mix of that throughout the year. We'd like to get some plays where we just line up and snap the ball and come off the ball and be aggressive. And then we'd like to be able to do some things like that, typically on 3rd down, where he can solve some problems for us. One of the biggest things we got to do is we got to be more efficient on 1st and 2nd down. We had way too many 3rd and longs. Also, the more efficient we are on 1st down allows us to take more shots on 2nd down and be aggressive. But what happens is you get to a point where you want to stay out of the 3rd and long, so you don't take the shots. Well, it becomes a vicious cycle.
You talked about recognizing the need for adjustments at certain junctures, to sort of paraphrase what you said yesterday. Is anything changing structurally about how you are approaching game management after you have a game where it seems like maybe those wires were moving across the teams?
Yes.
Anything specific?
Yeah, I mean, those things are internal, but yeah, I've had a bunch of conversations with our offensive staff as well as Coach Donovan. Different things that we've done in the past. There was a time period in our past where we were playing really well in the 1st and 2nd quarter, and in the 3rd quarter we were scoring at a much lower rate. In 4th quarter we were higher, so we put in some things to help with that. So kind of looking back over my history as a play caller, and then things that since we've been a head coach, problems we've had and how we've solved these issues. So kind of bringing all these things up and kind of having discussions what's best for us right now.
And
time for 2 more.
You would or would not do it or need to do it, but do you consider a coach that would be comfortable calling plays throughout the course of the game on your own, or is that something that you don't want to have that responsibility conceptually? Is how you approach it?
Yeah, I'm going to get a lot more involved than I've been, but the way that I'd like to see this thing all play out is me being the head football coach with the offense, defense, and special teams, and with the administration and recruiting and everything else that we do, and make sure from a vision standpoint that we're playing the way we want to play. But I have to have the ability to jump in and help solve problems when problems are resolved.
When you say that, James, what do you mean you have to be more involved, or you want to be more involved? I'm sorry, you plan to be more involved. What does that incorporate? Actual play calling, or?
That's going to incorporate whatever I think we need at the time, whether it's during the game, whether it's during the week, whatever it is, where I can jump in and help. I've been with this staff for a long time. I believe in all of them. I've had a lot of success in some pretty good conferences, including here, and I believe in these guys, and I want to support them, but we all got a job to do.
You will talk about the importance of the quarterback getting into a rhythm within the game. As somebody who played the position, what does that rhythm feel like? How would you describe it? How do you sustain it?
This is perfect, right? No, I think it kind of deals with everything. It's being able to throw for completions. It's staying on schedule. It's having a run game. It's changing up the looks. It's all those things. It's all those things. It's being able to take some shots to loosen up the defense. All those things factor into the rhythm of the offense and the rhythm of the quarterback.
Thanks, Coach.